Let's talk about something that, well, pretty much everyone has experienced, but very, very few people actually talk about openly. We're going to cut through all the noise, all the myths, and get straight to the facts. Our goal here is to figure out exactly when a super common private habit crosses a line and starts becoming a real problem. So let's get into it. Okay, first things first, let's just look at the raw numbers. I mean, check this out. We're talking about 97% of men and 88% of women having done this at least once. So right off the bat, we can all agree we are not talking about something strange or out of the ordinary. This is basically a part of the human experience, plain and simple. And that brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If this is so incredibly normal for so many people, where's the tipping point? At what moment does a private habit go from being, just a thing you do, to something that could actually hurt your health, your relationships, or just your general sense of well-being? That's exactly what we're here to unpack. Now, to really answer that big question, we have to start with the why. Why does it feel good in the first place? And the answer isn't just physical. No, it's actually deeply wired into our brain chemistry, into our natural, built-in reward system. See, when you boil it all down, it's about a chemical reward. The whole reason it's pleasurable is because your brain releases a whole bunch of chemicals that are specifically designed to make you feel good. It's really the same fundamental wiring that makes you enjoy a delicious meal or feel that amazing rush after a good workout. And the main player, the star of the show, is a chemical you've definitely heard of, dopamine. You can think of it as your brain's own personal good job signal. When it gets released, it floods your system and creates these really intense feelings of pleasure and motivation. It's basically your brain screaming, yes, that was awesome, let's do that again sometime. But, and this is where it gets super interesting, dopamine isn't flying solo, not at all. It's actually the headliner of a whole chemical rock band. You've also got oxytocin, which is sometimes called the cuddle hormone, creating feelings of connection, and serotonin, which is a huge player in regulating your mood. It's this powerful combination, this whole cocktail, that makes the experience feel so powerful. So as you can imagine, this whole process can create a really, really powerful feedback loop. It kicks off with stimulation, right? That leads to that big hormone release we just talked about. Your brain loves that feeling, so it starts to crave it more and more. And if that cycle repeats enough, that craving can slowly morph a simple choice into a full-blown compulsion, where the urge feels like it's taking over. So if that reward cycle is so powerful, what happens when it gets pushed into overdrive? This is where we get to the real heart of the issue, when a habit might actually become harmful. This is the point where we can start to see some potential problems pop up. So what does excessive even mean here? Now, of course, everybody's different, but the source material does give us a general benchmark to think about. It suggests that going over 3 times a week is where the risk of some of these negative side effects can start to climb. And these potential issues, well, they can show up differently for men and women. For men, doing it too often can sometimes be linked to performance issues, things like premature ejaculation or even erectile dysfunction, which can be caused by overstimulation or anxiety. For women, it can sometimes lead to reduced sexual sensitivity, which might make real intimacy less satisfying. And for both, it can lead to things like dependency or feelings of guilt and anxiety. And this right here, this is the most important point of all. The real line in the sand is crossed when you feel like you've lost control. It stops being about a number on a chart and starts being about your own inner voice. If you find yourself wanting to stop, truly wanting to, but you feel like you just can't, that is the giant flashing sign that a habit has become a compulsion. But, and this is crucial, the good news is that if you do feel like you've lost that control, there is absolutely a path forward. It's not a lost cause. Gaining self-mastery is completely possible, but it takes a clear, structured approach that's focused on changing your habits and, most importantly, managing your triggers. The source material actually lays out a 6-step strategy to help you get that control back. Let's walk through it. First, it suggests strengthening your spiritual life. Things like prayer, meditation, really connecting with God and your faith to build that inner self-control. Second, and this is a big one, avoid being alone. Spend more time with family, with friends, because isolation is almost always a precursor. Third, change up small routines. Simple things like not taking your phone into the bathroom can break an unconscious trigger. Fourth, get moving. More physical activity like hitting the gym or going for a run is an incredible way to manage urges and boost boost your mood. The last two are really direct. Number 5 is to actively avoid pornography, which is a massive, powerful trigger for so many. And finally, number 6, for those who are ready for it, the source suggests considering marriage as a way to find fulfillment in a committed, healthy relationship.
You see the theme here, right? It all comes down to proactively managing your environment. Think about it. Most people engage in this habit when they are alone. So one of the most powerful strategies is to simply reduce your time in isolation. Be around family, hang out with friends. And on that same note, since pornography is such a common trigger, taking the active step to delete any adult content and avoid that kind of media is a critical move to break the cycle.
All right, let's wrap this up by clearing the air. It's time to tackle some of those crazy myths that have been floating around for, well, forever. There is so much fear and just flat out wrong information out there, so let's separate the fiction from the actual scientific facts. Okay, let's be crystal clear about this. There is absolutely zero, I mean zero, scientific evidence that this habit causes blindness, or that it makes hair grow on your palms, or that it permanently messes with your ability to have children. These are just old wives' tales that have been passed down for generations, and they have no basis in medical reality whatsoever. And this slide really nails it. We need to shift the whole conversation away from these baseless, silly physical myths. The real things we should be concerned about aren't going blind or getting hairy palms. The real risk is to our psychological and emotional health, the potential for compulsion, for anxiety, and for feeling disconnected from your life and your relationships. That's what really matters. So, what's the bottom line here? The big takeaway is this. This isn't about fighting some scary mythical monster. It's about finding personal balance and achieving self-mastery. The goal is just to make sure that a natural human habit stays just that, a habit, and not a compulsion that gets in the way of you living a full, happy, and healthy life. And that brings us to one final thought, a question just for you to think about. Looking at your own life, your own routines and habits, what is one small, simple change you could make starting right now today to move yourself toward a life with more balance and more self-control?